Hello, and welcome to our featured presentation entitled, This is My Story, This is My Song. We are excited about this project, and today we will be interviewing a local pastor as well as a local doctor and cancer survivors so that they can tell their story about how cancer has impacted their lives.
Hi, my name is Janine Davenport, and I am a breast cancer survivor of over 6+ years.
Hi, I'm Elaine Hill. I'm a 22-year, stage 2, bilateral breast cancer survivor.
My name is Barbara Woods, and I am a 16-year survivor of breast cancer.
My name is Milton Jackson. I am a prostate cancer survivor ever since 2001.
Hello, my name is Cornelius Mans. I'm a 9-year survivor of prostate cancer.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Locke. I'm a 16-year breast cancer survivor.
Hello, my name is Thelma Gillum, and I'm a breast cancer survivor of 9 years.
My name is Percy Ricks. I'm a prostate cancer survivor.
Hello, my name is Evelyn Talley, and I'm a breast cancer survivor.
My name is Delmon J. Brooks. I am a 5-year cancer survivor.
And I am a breast cancer survivor.
And I am a prostate cancer survivor for 15 years.
My name is Leah Josiah. I've been a breast cancer survivor for the last 10 years.
This is my story. This is my song.
I thought I knew a lot about cancer. I knew about treatments. I knew about how the treatments affect your body. I knew about how cancer can affect the lives of your family members. I thought that if I ever received a diagnosis of cancer that I would be prepared. I would be ready for it. I wasn't. I was totally devastated when I received the news. The first thing that I thought about was death and dying. I had a husband. I had 2 children, a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old, and I still had a lot of living to do. I wasn't ready to go yet.
In January of 1989, I had the biopsy, and it confirmed the suspicion that I did have breast cancer in my right breast. I was devastated. I went home and I could hardly move. I was a zombie the rest of the evening.
Of course, I was afraid. I wondered why this was happening to me.
We had gotten yearly exams since the age of 40, all 3 of us. And to find later that all 3 of us at the same time had prostate cancer, we were all shocked. Somewhere around the year of 1998, when my father was diagnosed with prostate cancer. We lost my father in August the 22nd due to that disease. Sometime a little after that, my brother was taking an exam, a prostate exam on his job, and it was determined that he also had prostate cancer. He was taken in for surgery and treated for that, and during that treatment for that, my mother was there, and they asked my mother if she had any other sons because my father had died a year before. She told him that she had 2 more sons, and she would like to have both of those tested. So they brought me and my other brother into that, and we were all tested. And during our test, it was determined that we also had prostate cancer.
I come from a family who has a history of cancer. I lost my father, my grandfather, my older sister, and my uncle to cancer, and 3 of my siblings are cancer survivors.
If you have a family history of it, then especially for black males, instead of having the cutoff point of 40 years age, you might want to go back to 30. So for my son, when he gets 30, he'll be turning 31 this year, I'll be having him to get checked because I have it. So what happened is that All of us must consider an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
You have to be your own advocate. That's what I did. I learned so much during this time. I didn't know what carcinoma in situ was. I didn't know what radiation was. But through all this, I learned a lot. And because of that, I'm an advocate for breast cancer or any kind of cancer.
Between the time of my diagnosis and my surgery, I tried to find out as much information as I could about breast cancer. I talked to my surgeon. I talked to an oncologist. I talked to women who had had breast cancer. I read books. In fact, one of the first books that I read has probably become the Bible for breast cancer.
My girlfriend gave me a book about breast cancer, and I began reading that book and gathering questions so that I went to see the doctors. I would be informed enough to know what questions to ask the doctor.
I also realized that I didn't know a thing about breast cancer, and I was going to have to educate myself in order to be part of my treatment team. I went to the medical library and found periodicals and books, copied down 800 numbers to call.
Now, breast cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death among women in the United States. There are disparities in how this occurs between Caucasian women and women of other races. Now, although women of Caucasian descent have higher incidence of breast cancer, they have lower death rates, so that people who are African American or of other minority descent lines who sustain breast cancer are historically more likely to die of their disease. Now, what we talk about in terms of reducing the risk of anyone dying from breast cancer is screening. And what screening really means is we look for disease in case it is present without knowing that it is. And most times we're doing that either in people who we describe as average risk, meaning they don't have a personal history of breast cancer, for instance, or a family history of breast cancer. Alternatively, some people are high risk because they have had relatives who have had breast cancer in the past, or they've had cancer in one breast and yet are at higher risk of having cancer in the other breast. What should women do about mammograms? The American Cancer Society recommends a mammogram for every woman 40 or older every year. Alternatively, the United States Preventive Services Task Force does not suggest that mammograms be done routinely between the ages of 40 to 49 because some people have had false positive results from the tests that they have done. It's therefore okay for a woman age 40 to 49 to discuss breast cancer screening with her doctor, and they can arrive at a mutually appropriate interval for screening. Now, in the ages 50 to 74, screening is recommended in alternate years. Above 75 years of age, there's no recommendation concerning screening. Now, back to our discussion about disparities between Caucasians and non-Caucasians. It has been noted that women of African American lineage tend not to have their mammograms done regularly, or they have them done at wider intervals that are ordinarily recommended. So the recommendation at this point would be to maintain a primary care physician and or maintain a gynecologist who can assist with screening with mammograms and or other modalities that he or she may recommend to this woman, and to have this done on a regular basis.
If you look at the incidence of different malignancies in the United States, the two largest instances are in breast cancer in women and prostate cancer in men. There are approximately, in 2011, 220,000 new cases of prostate cancer diagnosed, approximately the same for breast cancer. As in the case of most diseases, making a diagnosis early has a direct effect on mortality. Another way of saying that is The earlier you make the diagnosis, the less volume of tumor you're dealing with, and that translates into more appropriate therapy, or therapy that has the potential to either eradicate the disease completely without risk of recurrence, or reduce that risk over time. And as a consequence, reduce, again, the morbidity and mortality of whichever disease you're talking about, in this case, a different malignancy. Prostate cancer also or has the advantage that there is a serum or blood test marker that can be used to consider who is even at higher risk at the time of evaluation. And that is a protein produced only by the prostate called prostate-specific antigen. A normal evaluation of PSAs, or prostate-specific antigen, over a lifetime rises gradually with age, but is generally at a low level when there is no concern for pathology, in this case a malignancy. If that PSA rises over time, or rises rapidly over a shorter period of time, that may be a harbinger or a clue to the presence of a early malignant process.
I'm Pastor Ternae Jordan of the Mount Canaan Baptist Church. Our community is one of the areas where there is more breast cancer and prostate cancer. And Mount Canaan is actively involved in the educating of our community about these diseases. We have a health committee that does a number of things, even with Alzheimer's, and we have care group givers. So we are excited about the church's participation within the health community to make a difference in the lives of individuals.
So I would advise anybody that has a lump in their breast or suspicion anything, go to the doctor. Breast cancer is not a death sentence for anybody.
I would just like to tell people that you should always have your mammogram, do your self-exam yourself, because that's how I found out that I had a tumor in my breast.
Having that mammogram made the difference, because I would have eventually had one, but when would I have known? Have your mammogram.
When I was first diagnosed with breast cancer, I actually found it myself. I was doing a self-breast exam in 2000, and I found a lump. And I went to the doctor, and he did a mammogram, and the mammogram showed that I had breast cancer.
You listen to yourself, you get yourself checked out, make sure. Don't let nobody tell you to wait. Don't wait. Do it as soon as possible, because you could save your life and people that love you.
Talking to my church members about going and being checked for prostate cancer. Men, for God's sake, we would like for you to go and be checked out for prostate cancer.
In the African American community, there are large numbers of individuals who are suffering with breast cancer and prostate cancer. There is so many opportunities for us to get checked and for education. I believe that the role of the church is to impact and affect a community. We have locked arms with many healthcare providers to make sure that our community has the information that they need.
Back in 1998, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And so my son, he was working at the health center. He advised me to have a checkup. So when I had the checkup, I had prostate cancer. I didn't even know it. So he gave me two options. Take a seed implant or take the operation. That's when the seed implant hadn't been too long come out. And so I prefer the seed implant. He would check me every 3 months at first. Then he cut it down to every 6 months. That was done in 98. So now he just checked me once a year. So I've been cancer free ever since 98.
My story of breast cancer started in 1981 in Brooklyn, New York. And I went to the doctor and he examined me and examined me and he kept examining me. Then he finally told me, I feel a lump in your breast and I want to see what it's all about. So he set up me an appointment for, I think it was the 9th of December, to go into the hospital and have it biopsied. So I went to the hospital to have my biopsy and it was cancer. I elected to have a mastectomy, but after everything came back, I didn't have to have any treatment. Everything was fine. The cancer was confined to the milk ducts. Maybe down in 1998, I went to my doctor because my other breast felt like it had a lump in it. Even though I was having my mammograms, they are all coming back negative. So when I went to the doctor in 98, she said, oh, everything is just fine. And I said, I don't think so. And so she made me an appointment right away, and she had me go see the surgeon. So I went to see the surgeon, and she said, we're going to have to do something about it. I had the surgery. She asked me, what did I want? And I said, what do you mean? She said, you can either have a lumpectomy or a mastectomy. I said, give me a mastectomy. I really thought that maybe I won't be here, and here I am now in 2011. That's a long time.
My awareness of prostate cancer was not necessarily by mistake, but it was doing a routine checkup. I had a pain in my back, and I decided to go to the doctor to see what the problem was. And during my visit, the doctor indicated, well, let's do a little test on you, a PSA test, to see if there's any problems, because you look healthy, but just in case. Well, the doctor informed me that I had a fast-growing cancer and I needed to do something about it. Well, it didn't shock me, but it surprised me because at the time I was a military reservist and getting a checkup every 6 months. There was no indication there was a problem. So when I was treated for the prostate cancer, I was advised that I would take 28 treatment. And once I took those treatments, 10 years from the date, I need to revisit the cancer treatment. And although I'm a veteran, I received treatment from the Veteran Administration, where I take medication, and my prostate cancer has been in remission. As long as I take the pills, I'm doing just fine.
I went to Detroit and I saw my mom, and my mom told me, says, son, something wrong with you. And I said, Mom, I'm okay. She says, no, something wrong. When you get back, make sure you get checked. So when I got back, I got my PSA checked, and my PSA was elevated, but this time it was a little lower than before. And I can claim that to probably nutrition support. But then I went to see my doctor, in which said that I had a 75% probability of having prostate cancer. And during that time, I had no symptoms at all. And as you look back, you said prostate cancer is something that most of us, we see it happen around us, but we don't think it can happen to you.
My story is somewhat unique in that I work at the hospital here at Erlanger, and I never thought about breast cancer. I've always had my mammograms yearly. I was taking a shower, doing my self-examinations, and I felt a knot. I went and told my husband, uh-oh, I think I felt a knot, and he said, well, I guess you better go check that out. I had an ultrasound on my breast, and a couple of weeks passed, didn't get a result, a couple of weeks passed, and after that I had a friend of mine call in to ask about my results, and they told her, well, you have nothing to worry about, you're fine. But I knew there was something wrong because I felt it.
After the mammogram, I had a biopsy, and the biopsy confirmed the doctor's fears and my fears. Then immediately I had a mastectomy. My children and some of their uncles decided that I should come to the US for further treatment. On my left side, where I had had a mastectomy, I was not feeling well. It was swollen and it was kind of painful. Then due to the issue of insurance, I was not able to really go and see a cancer doctor immediately. So I kind of waited, dilly-dallying, taking pain medication, which didn't do anything. In the meantime, the tumor started growing under my armpit. And I had my cancer treatment, I had chemo, radiation, and I also had surgery actually before the radiation.
And some of the things that I've read and I've seen, it's astonishing to me to know what we are going through with and what the future look like if we find a cure to this. And don't be afraid. If you're married, tell your wife. Tell your wife about this. I had seed implant. There are other operations that you can have. It doesn't prolong your life. It'll prevent the things that's going to happen in your life. And you are not completely dead. You still have life. And it just takes time. Because I thought my life was ended, but it wasn't. I enjoy my life even today. I'm 75 years old. I soon will be 76. I enjoy my life.
Was diagnosed in 1995, and I decided to take seed implant, radiation seed implants. And at that time, there was no one doing seed implants in Chattanooga. So I selected a doctor from Atlanta. The doctor in Atlanta wanted me to have exterior radiation prior to the seed implants. So he made arrangements with Erlanger. After taking my seed implants, about a year later, my prostate enlarged on me, and the material that they operated on and took out of me indicated that I needed additional treatment. And I started taking the nutrients then, and I have taken the nutrients ever since, and I take no medication whatsoever.
I had began a quest to find out how to have a better quality of health. And I went on a search. I found a new doctor. And of course, the doctor wanted me to do all those beginning things. And that included having a mammogram. So I went to have the mammogram. And as a result, I discovered the same day that I had the mammogram. I didn't have to wait for the letter. I didn't have to wait on a phone call. I knew that day that I had a suspicious reading. But I went from trying to find quality health to having breast cancer.
It was a very scary time, and I told my coworker and my sister and my nephew when I immediately found out, and they came over to the house, and we just hugged one another and cried together and just gathered ourselves. But I went through 36 treatments of radiation, and my mother, who is 86 now, she was there with me every step of the way at every treatment, which was very important to me. I had very strong family support, church support. I went to all the support groups and information sessions that I could find.
Just recently, I've had a friend to come to me and said he had prostate cancer. And according to his conversation, he had not shared that information with his wife. And I told him that, he needs to get some support groups, because if he thinks that this is something he can keep under wraps, he can't do it. It's very encouraging for someone to come to you and ask you for help, but if you don't proceed and really get a support, if you do have a major problem, then you're really going to need some assistance.
I didn't know exactly how to take the course of this journey, but through the support that I experienced through Erlanger, it really brought me, they brought me through it. So I told myself, why should I even go through it? But through the support that I did experience, I saw so many different survivors. I said, go ahead, Condra, you can do it, because look at them.
We need somebody to walk with us when we are going through this devastating disease.
Through my journey, I learned that by faith and believing that the Lord heals, and continued on that journey. And at the end of it all, I survived, but I am healed. The scripture says that by his stripes ye are healed. Today, after 11 years, I still speak that scripture because I am standing strong and I'm surviving through it all.
Whether I live to be 100 or 150, it really doesn't matter to me, because I have a relationship with God.
It was a test of my faith like nobody else's. And God said, how much are you going to trust me? And I thought about that.
And I had a little talk with God, the master physician. And I told him that if I didn't know what was in his plan, but whatever was in his plan for me, I asked for strength to make it through.
There was no one in the house but myself and God, and I was scared, but I let God know exactly how I was feeling, and I let him know that I was going to trust in him and put my faith in him, and I knew that he would see me through.
The past 16 years have not been all a bed of roses. I've had some good times, I've had some bad times, I've had some sad times, and I've had some happy times. I've lost some friends along the way, but I've also met a lot of strong women who are survivors of breast cancer. And I would like to say that breast cancer is not the end of your life. In fact, there is life after breast cancer, and I'm here to let you know that.
And I turned around and I told the devil there was no room in my life for him, that he was not going to win. So I decided right then and there that I was going to be a survivor, because that is most important, the attitude that you approach this ugly illness with. I knew that it was not going to be a life sentence for me.
We've been surviving, doing well as a three of us. So to have us three to do well out of this, and we're still doing well. We had our treatments the first couple of years, and our tests were all good, and now we only go once a year.
Breast cancer is not a death sentence for anybody. I've been here almost from 1981, space in between. Here I am now in 2011. I hope to be here.
My doctor, he would always tell me when I come in, he'd say, I wish that other people were like you. And I said, why? He said, because you come in talking not dying. You come in talking to live. And he said, I love that because most people think about dying when they mention cancer. He said, but you come in and you said you want to live, you want to still do what you have always done. And as long as God give me strength in my body, I remember one thing, most of all, there's hope, there's life. And just trust in God and he'll give you the strength to carry on.
My cancer journey took me through so much. of heartache, pain, but through it all, I survived.
I'm on a journey. I've been on it 16 years, and hopefully I will be on it another 16 years. I'm just glad that I'm still in the land of the living. And wherever this video goes, I want you to know that I am alive for such a time to tell my story, because I'm still here. Thank you.